Congress and the administration face a short runway to fund the federal government before September the 30th. The House may be able to muscle through another continuing resolution, but the Senate could be a different story. Joining me now is Elizabeth Mitchell, White House correspondent for the Daily Signal. Elizabeth, welcome to This Week on Capitol Hill. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.
So let's talk funding first. Congress faces a September 30th deadline. If the House advances another CR, what does it look like in the Senate?
Well, I think that a lot of Democrats are saying that there is a risk of a government shutdown coming up. The reason they're saying this is because OMB, the Office of Management and Budget within the White House, introduced what they call a pocket rescission last Thursday, meaning the House and the Senate don't need to vote on it. It's just these funds that Congress has already appropriated money towards are being clawed back by the White House. And so after they did that, Democrats are saying that this is Republicans showing that as the need to fund the government comes up, Republicans are not willing to work on them, but want to go at it alone, get their priorities across without even bringing it to a vote in the House or the Senate. But Russ Vought, the director of Office of Management of the Budget, has really pushed back on this and said that if Democrats shut down the government, that is still their choice, and there is still an opportunity for there to be bipartisan working together in order to avoid a government shutdown, which politically is not great for anyone.
Elizabeth, my sense in having some conversations with some senators this week is that we're probably closer to a government shutdown than we have been in some time. Several factors, as you just laid out. There's this political friction there, but there's also personal political friction when you look at the Democratic leader, Chuck Schumer, who has someone breathing down his back politically. I don't know that he can afford to be seen as working with Republicans.
Yeah, in this very polarized political climate, the fact that Schumer worked with Republicans in the past really gave him negative political points with his party, because the Democrats right now, their main mission, what they're all aligned around, their focus is opposing Trump. And the fact that Schumer was willing to align with Trump and with Republicans who support Trump at all was very negative, painted him in a very negative light to his party. So I think he's going to be very careful to avoid that, again, because of all these radicals in his party saying he shouldn't have done that. But this really could lead to a shutdown. And I think Republicans really don't want to shut down. As the party in power, they're usually going to be the ones blamed for that. And heading into midterms, that could be something they're really going to want to avoid. But then again, of course, they're still going to want all of their policy priorities to be in the continuing resolution. So it'll be a balance to walk there.
We'll be watching that one closely. I want to shift gears to the Epstein files, something that you've been tracking very closely this week. Additional documents were released. We had testimony from victims. What do we know from this week's oversight hearing?
Well, we know that Thomas Massie, who's a Republican who has been diverting from the Trump administration a lot lately, he is joining forces with the Democrat to try to get a discharge petition of all these Epstein files. However, Republicans are saying that this is not necessary. I think there is bipartisan support for transparency around the Epstein files. Speaker Johnson has said he wants to know what's going on, and we just saw that clip of Anna Paulina Luna saying that there's people who need to go in jail, powerful people who need to be held accountable. But Republicans are saying this discharge petition is not necessary because the DOJ already released, I think, about 30,000 files to the Oversight Committee. So there is going to be oversight on this. Those files have been released, and I think that's the next step here.
Some of the criticism regarding this latest release was that it's really not new information, only about 3% of that information being new. But you take that new 3% or whatever it was, combined with the testimony that we heard from some of these victims. How motivating is that in terms of solidifying this bipartisan support for transparency?
What Trump has said and what the DOJ has said, which is that there's no client list, that seems to continue to ring true after all these files were released. Like you said, there's not too much new information. There's not the smoking gun, the bombshell that a lot of people are looking for. So it really does seem like we just might not have all the information that people are looking for on this subject. And it's something that, of course, has been a subject of interest for Republicans for a long time and has recently become a subject of interest for Democrats because they they see this as something with potential to hurt Trump, the president. But I think that we will see going forward that I don't think that there's too much more information to be uncovered here. But interviewing these victims, we'll see. Maybe that will release some more accountability.
Does the issue go away, or does it remain an issue?
I think that a lot of people were hoping that the August recess, would cause people to forget about the Epstein files and move on to other things. Of course, Congress has so much to deal with in September, with defense funding necessary, continuing resolutions to avoid a shutdown, so many things. But it seems like this is an issue that just won't die.
All right, 2 minutes left, Elizabeth. I want to move to federal deployments. The president has floated sending federal personnel, including National Guard units, to cities with persistent crime. We've seen what's been playing out in D.C., and it's been fairly positive, but that's the federal city. A little bit different. We're now talking about Chicago, New Orleans. What's the latest?
The president has repeatedly said that he wants J.B. Pritzker, the far-left governor of Illinois, to call him and request National Guard to clean up the streets in Chicago. The people of Chicago are begging for this. The crime, the homicide rates are so high in Chicago, but it's very unlikely, I would say near impossible, that Pritzker is really going to request National Guard, because he said that he's going to fight this tooth and nail. He said, do not come to our city. So I think that we're probably not going to see a deployment into Chicago, but we know we are probably going to see one into New Orleans, because the Republican governor of Louisiana has said he would welcome the troops. And I think that when the people of New Orleans see what it's like to have what we've had here in D.C., where the crime is cleaned up and the streets feel safer, you see National Guard all the time, you just feel like you can walk on the streets at night without being afraid. I'm sure the people of Chicago are going to call even louder for their governor to allow those troops into the city to clean it up, like what's happened in D.C. and what will happen in New Orleans.
All right. Well, we're going to be joined by the Attorney General of Louisiana next, and we're going to explore that subject a little bit further. Elizabeth, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate your insight.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.